Hey guys, what's up? Let's talk about what I'll be doing for piano. So, as you know, my main goal for the year is to be able to play the Moonlight Sonata third movement. The song right now is far beyond my technical abilities. So, I mean, if we were to consider one main obstacle for me playing this song right now, it is technique. And by that, what I mean is my fingers literally don't have the ability to play the song because I'm not good enough. So I've never really focused on piano technique for a long period of time. So my ability to play fast, accurately, basically my ability to play good is non-existent. So Given that that is my biggest obstacle, it is going to be the thing that I'll be focusing on the most throughout the year. But before I go into exactly what I'll be doing for my technique, I'll just tell you about my setup and what I think is the most important thing, which is making the experience enjoyable so that it's not too much of a stress to actually practice. If practicing the piano was really boring, which, I mean, to be honest, the exercises that I'll be doing are boring. But if the entire experience was very boring, it would be very difficult to keep it up, as well as doing everything else at the same time. So what I have here is a computer screen that I have linked up to the computer. So I have like a splitter on the back of the computer that enables me to split the monitor output, so I can have a third monitor here. So I have a mouse on the piano as well, so that I can use this pretty much just like a normal computer. And I'll tell you why that's important. I mean, it's important for two reasons. The first reason is I can use this basically to learn music. So I'll explain that in a little bit, but I mean, no paper is required because I have a screen. But the second reason is, let's say I have to practice for 1 hour or 2 hours just on technique and doing very monotonous exercises. I mean, that's really, really boring. So what I do is I like to find movies that I really enjoy, and I'll pick a movie for the day, and I'll put the movie on, and I'll watch it on the screen while I practice the exercises that I need to do on the piano. So, to give you an example, today and yesterday I was getting through American Gangster. Just to give you an example, and yesterday I watched 2 hours of American Gangster, and the entire time I was drilling finger exercises. So, I'll tell you the exercises in a moment, but pretty much the entire time I'm watching it, I'm doing the exercises. So it's kind of a pleasant experience to practice. And don't think for a moment that just because I'm watching a movie, while I do the exercises, that the exercises aren't working. Because, I can tell you that they definitely do work, and I've been practicing already for about a month, and I'm definitely improving very quickly. Because, I'll sit here for an hour and just drill the exercises, and it's not boring because I'm watching a movie right here. So that's probably the most important thing is I've set up the situation so that it's not a chore really to play the piano. It's like kind of fun because I look for movies that I really want to watch and movies that I'll really enjoy, and it's even kind of relaxing to watch the movies, and as a secondary thing I am working my fingers and getting the technique up. I can get into the science and the specifics of finger technique and that kind of stuff, but really mind-finger connection isn't too important. What I'm trying to build up is finger independence and, the muscles in my arms and speed, all that kind of stuff, which is not really a choice. It's something that takes a long time to work up. And it's just a matter of doing it over and over and over and over and over again. So it's a matter of repetition. And eventually, my fingers will become really strong and fast, and I'll be able to play the song. But while I'm practicing those exercises, I don't really need to be focused too much on the fingers themselves. I mean, I can just sort of watch it and just let my fingers do the exercises. I don't even really need to look at my fingers when I do it. It's just a matter of getting the exercises done. And I mean, trust me, I am thinking a little bit about my fingers. I mean, I am keeping some attention on them, but let's just say 50% attention is on the movie I'm watching, and 50% attention is on the exercises that I'm doing. But this is an awesome way to make the whole experience a good one, and it definitely increases the odds that I'm going to practice. So I definitely recommend you do it. And so watching movies, but also I can use this to learn songs. Now, I can't read sheet music. So what I do is I use something called Synthesia, which is, let me get this. So, I mean, I'll give you a link basically to what it is, so you can see it for yourself. But instead of having the sheet music where you see the notes written on a transcript like they normally are, it has like, I mean, if you've ever played Guitar Hero, it's similar to that, where the notes come down and it tells you what keys to press. So what I'll be doing is more or less memorizing the song over time, memorizing the notes, and then playing it from memory. So this tool is just to memorize the song and learn it that way. My goal is not really to become a huge pianist, and it's just like a side project that I want to work on. What I want to do with piano is have a good level of technique, be pretty good at it, and to be able to play songs that I really want to play. It's not going to be a massive part of my life. So I don't want to spend years of my time learning to read sheet music when ultimately the gain that I'll get from it isn't worth it, in my opinion. So if piano was the main focus of my life right now, and I didn't really care about much else, and I wanted to devote hours upon hours every day, I would definitely invest the time to learn sheet music. But I have to be honest with myself, I'm not looking to play 1,000 piano songs, and I'm not really looking to be able to learn everything. So there's not that many songs that I really want to play. A couple of Beethoven sonatas is a couple of songs. There's some nice songs that I really enjoy and I want to play, but it's not like I want to really learn a whole lot of the piano library. So I don't need really to learn to read music. I can sort of, if I see a song that I really want to learn, I can just memorize the notes using this system, and I have a really good ear, so I don't necessarily need a score telling me how to play it, because I can hear it being played and be able to sort of copy it good enough to get by. But with Moonlight Sonata third movement, what I will be doing is memorizing it, practicing the song for a few months, memorize the whole thing obviously, but at some point I will get a teacher in to actually help me with the pedaling of the song and the expression, because it's a complex song, and while other simpler songs I'd be able to get by just listening to the song being played and I'd be able to just make it sound alright. With this one, it's too complex, so I'll need a teacher who has the score and the sheet music to be able to tell me what pedals to use and when, and also what kind of expressions to use while playing it. So I will actually be getting a teacher in at some point to help me with that. Now let's go over my exercises that I'll be doing. So right now, I don't know a whole lot of anything. So I'll tell you what I do know, and then maybe in a couple of months, I'll give you an update about the new stuff that I've learned. But let's imagine that I'm going to be starting up a practice session. I will choose a movie, I'll play the movie, and at the moment I've memorized numbers 1 to 16 in Hanon. So I'll do that. But before I do that, I will let you know that I actually spend a minute or two just stretching my wrist. You probably can't see it on the camera, but I'm stretching both my wrists on the seat, this way and that way, just to stretch out the wrist a little bit. And I'll just warm up for a second. I won't even go into what that is. It's kind of irrelevant. But once I have stretched for a second, I'll do Hanon. So I've done 116. If you don't know what Hanon is, again, I'll put a link in the description. But it's basically just an exercise that sounds like this. And it goes up and down like that. It's really kind of monotonous. But again, when I'm watching the movie, I don't get bored because I'm kind of paying attention to what's going on there. So I go through 1 to 16, and I go, at the moment I'm doing 3 octaves for each exercise. Then I'll get onto scales. So I have memorized A, B, C, D, E, F, G major scales. And that's pretty much it. That's all I've memorized. So I will grind the scales for a long time. And I mean like half an hour. I'll sit there and I will play up and down the scale. So let's say I'm practicing the C major scale. I'll just go up and down. So as you can see, I'm not very good right now. So like that, and I'll just go up and down, up and down, up and down. Let's try another scale, like F major. So I didn't play for very long then. I would just continuously do that. And I would just every now and then do one hand at a time just to make sure everything is even. Just make sure everything's all good. So I do every scale, and I might do every scale for like 5 minutes. So that ends up being half an hour or so, okay? And so by that stage, I've played almost an hour of just drilling. And I haven't done much. What I have started to do now is add in I want to start practicing arpeggios, so like C major arpeggio. I mean, arpeggios are really difficult. I've literally just learnt them. So I don't even think I could do two-hand arpeggio at all, really. If I were to try 3 octaves, so that's where I'm at. And I'll practice C major, D major at the moment. And what I'll do is I will like for example, with Hanon, what I did was I did one new Hanon a day. So every day I would practice Hanon. For example, the first day I did Hanon number 1. The second day I did Hanon number 1, and then I tried to memorize Hanon number 2. And then on day 3, I would play 1 and 2 from memory and try to memorize number 3. And I would just sort of build up that way, trying to memorize all of them. Because basically I want everything in my head so I can just smash it out when I'm practicing it. So, yesterday, for example, when I was practicing this, I was watching American Gangster, as I mentioned, and I practiced for about 1.5 hours, and all I did was Hanon 1 to 16, the major scales that I had learned, and C major arpeggio and D major arpeggio. That's all I did in an hour and a half. So you can imagine that I'm practicing a lot. There's a lot of repetition there. So what I'm looking to do, say for example with the scales, I know A, B, C, D, E, F. What I'm looking to do now is start incorporating the minor keys. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G minor scales. And also scales starting on the black keys as well, so not just with the white keys. So that's what I'll do. So probably, I'm a bit tired today, so when I go to practice, what I'll probably do is just not really try and learn anything. I will just practice what I already know. But when I'm feeling particularly energetic, I will try to add another piece of the puzzle. So hopefully tomorrow I'm feeling okay, and then I might add in C minor. So then I've got an extra scale that I can throw into the practice and mix it up a little bit. So that's the majority of the technique. That's what I'll do. I'll put a movie on and I'll just smash out technique the entire time. When it comes to learning the song, then it'll be in a completely different session. Now, usually what I find is that after about 1.5 hours of playing, my back hurts, and I have to take a break. So, what I might do is play for an hour and a half, go stretch, and do something else, and then later in the day I'll come back and try to play another session. And then in that second session, I'm not worried too much about technique. It's more about memorizing the sonata that I'm going to play. And I also do know one other song that I'm hoping to make a video of, but that has a couple of difficult passages in it, so I will play. It's more like I'm practicing pieces that I know, even though technically I only know one song and a little bit of this sonata, and that's all I know at the moment. But there's one song I do have memorized, and I practice that a little bit, and then I get into the Moonlight Sonata. So I was going to give you like a proper video where I have decent sound quality. At the moment, this is coming through the piano speakers. I mean, they're not going to give a great sound, so what I'll do is when I memorize a bit more of the Moonlight Sonata, I'll actually record it directly into the computer, which will have a much better sound. But, I'll practice for example, the opening passage. Like that. So, I'll show you what happens when I try to go a little bit quick. I can't really do it. it's messy and terrible. So I'm a long way from being able to play that. Pretty much that's all I've got in my memory bank right now. I know a little bit of that was wrong. That's pretty much all I've memorized, and I kind of skipped a little bit more of the opening, which was whoopsie daisies. And then this bit where it goes. So, as you can see, I can't really play it at all. So, I have a long way to go before I could play this song. So, how much am I hoping to practice? Probably, ideally, on my days that I work, maybe 2 hours, okay? So, an hour and a half or an hour of technique, and then the rest of the time I'll spend on the pieces. And on my days where I don't have to work, then ideally I would practice for at least 3 hours. So 1.5 to 2 hours on technique, and then the rest on the songs. And then possibly I'll have to spend more time as well actually memorizing the song. So I think that pretty much sums it up right now. Just to give an overview, I put on a movie and I practiced technique for most of it. And I'll be hoping to add in more technique exercises. And I'm not very good at this song at all, as you can see. So I have a long way to go, and hopefully I will get some videos up where I, play the song with a metronome, and you can see what pace I'm at, and we can sort of get a good sort of progression going, where you can see the progress and how long it's taken me to get up there and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's wrap it up. If you have any questions, then let me know.